We'll go ahead and click here. We're going to go ahead and start with the unit plan and showcasing it. My name is Michelle. My subject area is Spanish. So a quick unit overview. In this unit, students will be observing and describing animals, plants, and the environment. This unit probes students to learn more about the various animals and plants they know or perhaps do not know of and have the opportunity to translate them into Spanish for use. As students explore animals and plants, they will also be learning about the various habitats in nature itself. They will not only know word-for-word translations, but they will also be able to speak and write complete statements for the use of everyday conversation. And a big part of this specific unit is for them to be able to research on current environmental issues, endangered species, animals, plants. So it's not just about factual evidence, but them also being able to research a little bit and develop that research skill of collecting information and translating it into more formal presentation sentences and stuff like that. Grade level wise, it would be like 9th, 10th grade. The California Content Standard here covered is 3.2, I believe, and it's where students address concrete and factual topics related to the immediate and external environment, including plants, animals, and their habitats. Students are then able to determine appropriate responses to situations involving the immediate and external environment. They are able to describe the differences and similarities. They are able to conduct paragraph-level discourse to produce formal communication, written and oral. The student learning objectives throughout this lesson are for them to define, describe, and identify animals, plants, and the environment, associate animals and plants to its habitat, develop complete sentences both in written and oral form. The big idea behind this unit plan is for students to acquire information, recognize distinctive viewpoints, and further their knowledge of the world around them through the world of like nature, the environment, plants, animals, and stuff like that. Through the understanding and comprehension of the Spanish language, students are able to communicate on factual topics concerning animals, plants, and external environment. As I mentioned, they incorporate what they know to a new language to engage in oral and written language with the capacity to interpret written and spoken language. They're able to narrate the present issues concerning external environments. So it's not just about plants, animals, it's not just about facts, but it's also about current issues and recurring issues that we face today, like pollution, global warming. So a little bit of science in and of itself in this Spanish class. So next we have assessments. Just a little summary here. Throughout the unit basically consists of 3 lessons. Each lesson incorporates entry-level, formative, and summative strategy forms of assessments. So the entry-level consists more of like vocabulary terms, lecture, videos, which present the content, the information, the material to the student. More formative assessment strategies check for understanding, and in this particular unit for formative assessments, I use more along the lines of like a set of critical questions to get the student to think and go beyond just facts and vocabulary. And then I also use graphic organizer, like the photo reflection specifically, for them to be able to make the connections between the different areas of the environment, nature, plants, and animals. And then I also use a puzzle, which kind of helps me to see if they're understanding the terms itself. And then summative assessments are used throughout this lesson, throughout the unit, in each individual lesson, and then of course a summative assessment for the entire unit itself, which would be like a unit exam and then a unit presentation. So a unit examination project presentation is used for the unit assessment. For each unit, students are given a summative assessment at a smaller scale. So for each lesson, I meant students are given a summative assessment at a smaller scale, such as skits, poster board presentations, critical thinking questions, for them to orally present and see where they stand, so that I can see where they stand. So here's an example of my formative assessment, which is a puzzle. Here we just have certain descriptions of different environments, different animals, different plants. Essentially, they're able to put it in here to see if they're understanding and getting a grip for what this unit specifically is touching upon. And then we have a summative assessment, which is like the unit presentation, which I actually thought was a little bit of, which I thought was kind of fun. So the assignment here would be to report on global issues concerning the extinction or endangerment of animal, plant, wildlife species, give information on the conditions of the environment, identify other animals, plants, wildlife that may become endangered if conditions do not change. So it's not just about going in and, you know, saying, oh, these are endangered, these are extinct, but for them to research a little bit more in depth and see, you know, what, you know, if pollution continues to happen, if deforestation continues to happen, you know, what's going to happen to the environment. So it gets them to think a little bit more than just going on the internet and searching for extinct animals, extinct plants, but rather looking at the information, reading articles, and seeing where, you know, what the causes and effects are of deforestation, of pollution, are of air pollution, of water pollution, are into the environment. So essentially, that's, you know, them enriching their research skills and synthesizing skills of the information that they're collecting and be able to present it in Spanish. So start off by giving some background information of the climate, the habitat, the types of animals and wildlife plants that you'd find in that specific country or that specific area, in that specific area. That you would find in that specific part of the world. So essentially, you know, maybe they'd be able to research a little bit more about Latin American countries, about their environment, about what we find in those countries, and maybe even compare, you know, third world countries. You know, we find in Latin America there's, you know, maybe a couple of third world countries compared to the U.S. or which are more advanced in their environmental issues. So basically, instructions are pretty simple. Groups of no more than 5 students research worldwide issues concerning the environment. Create a presentation using Prezi, PowerPoint, basically any sort of media platform which they're able to present it. They could even make a video if they wanted to, but you know, use videos, images to engage their audience. Of course, no more than minimum of 10 slides, not including images. Presentation, keep it to like an 8 to 12 minimum, and be able to cite their work, so APA format, so they are able to cite their sources. And then a rubric here, which I would be grading mostly on like content, vocabulary, the use of complete sentences and fluency, pronunciation, the clarity of it, and then comprehension of the topic itself, to see if what they researched they were able to clearly translate it into not just Spanish language, but be able to communicate it in an effective and clear manner. And then lesson 1 would consist of a lecture presentation with guided notes. So this document here would be accessible to the student via this website. They'd be able to download it, print it at home. Essentially, even if we had you know, laptops or iPads or some sort of electronic device in the classroom, they'd actually be able to type right into this. They'd download it and then type right into it, essentially. If not, obviously I would provide a paper copy. But here it gives them like a little introductory to vocabulary. Obviously not everything that you would find in the textbook, but it does give a little bit of what this specific unit plan that touches upon nature, environment, animals, plants would give. And then the second part of it here would for them to assume like a dry climate. It could be dry, cold, you know, not necessarily dry, it could be cold. I could have put cold, wet, frigid, whatever it may have been, with plants that do not need a lot of water, or plants that do need a lot of water. What types of animals and plants would you find in this environment? So this here, I would use essentially for them to be able to recall what they already know, and maybe even conduct this specific activity in English, since it is kind of an introductory, and then have them basically translate it to English, or when they do present and share, shared in Spanish to build their enunciation. But yeah, basically using prior knowledge to be able to translate into this class. And then these next few questions, it's more for collaborative purposes, so they're able to engage and speak without any formal use of the language. You know, if they mess up, it's fine. It's a little bit of factual, but it's a little bit more of opinionated, so they're able to share their opinion on like what's their favorite time of the year. Is it fall? Is it winter? Why? Do they like nature? Why not? You know, what would they do to preserve? Question 5 here. What would they do to preserve or eliminate contamination or reduce contamination of the air and water? You know, would they do it? Why not? And then the last part here of the guided notes would be to draw something that they most like about nature. So here in the presentation itself, it's not part of the guided notes, but I would still want to accompany it with the guided notes as part of the activity, as part of the lecture. So I'm just going to go ahead and move forward, but if we go back to the beginning here, it's basically just vocabulary, like an introductory video of basically presenting the vocabulary for pronunciation purposes. And here we have like a sentence or 2 paragraphs here, you know, which they would essentially, I would have students volunteer to read maybe a sentence each, and then you know, spy or take out to see if they're able to recognize terms. And some questions which are similar to the guided notes, and then some pictures for description purposes. So not just being able to tell them winter or snow, but them to be able to actually see it and can make that connection. Let's see here, and then I'm going to skip to this here. So this here, it wouldn't just be, I would want to use this specifically in addition to the guided notes because it does provide some good insight into like a specific term. So like recycle here, reciclar. So they'd be able to provide like a definition, a picture, a sentence, and then a synonym or a translation which would help them remember the word. So I would specifically use this here for more like in-depth terms. Maybe not necessarily for like an animal, like if I were to say bear or oso. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily use it for that, but for a term more like contamination, contaminación, or recycle, reciclar, or deforestation, deforestación, terms like that, I would use this for. And then lesson 2 here, we have our Weber size. I will essentially instruct students to download the Weber size for this unit. This activity will assist the identification of animals and their environment. The various links lead to movies or short videos that you may have watched and encountered in English. Most of the videos are purposely in Spanish to expose you to the language, but also so you can explore and associate the various plants, animals, and environments. So here I use a little bit of mainstream media, pop culture, movies that they've most likely watched, like the like Rio movies, like the Madagascar movies, some little short videos. They are in Spanish purposefully, so they're able to get used to that, the pronunciation of their terms. And basically they're just watching the video and answering some of these questions in complete sentences, of course, except with the exception of a few which I've you know, said they're able to use bullet points. So here it's basically just exposing them to the terms once again, and their ability to watch a video in Spanish, translate what they're hearing, and put it in complete sentences. And then our lesson 3 here is our graphic organizer, which is our photo reflection. So just real quick here, the instructions are for every student to complete a graphic organizer. The particular activity will assist the student in organizing what they have learned on the environment. Each student will be creating a photo reflection, and each slide will contain a visual surrounding like the climates of the different countries, and then I provide a a certain number of websites to complete this assignment.